Behind the Shades.
When you go on these trips
Mhm.
and you are experiencing, as you mentioned, different cultures, different people, and you realize, wow, this part of the world is so much different than where I am, but they all have the same type of desire to be loved, to find happiness, things like that. And when you mentioned to me earlier, for those listening, when we're in the green room talking about discovering boundaries and helping people find their boundaries,
Mhm.
how did you set boundaries for yourself that would help you to continue to navigate your life in a very peaceful and happy way?
Started with myself, my own boundaries within myself and my own respect. But here's the thing about boundaries. When you put them in place, they're actually a thing of love and respect. But a lot of people look at them and like there's something bad, And so I like to just say when I put in boundaries, I like to think of it as like a um what's the word I'm looking for? An analogy where here's my house, here's my yard, here's my gate. I don't want you to hop the fence and walk through my door. I want you to walk through my gate to my door, and I will let you in. And so when I think of it like that, it's like not necessarily a bad thing. It's, the flowers are going to stay intact because they're not hopping over the fence. You're not frustrated because the lawn or whatever. So it's like for me, it felt because I'm a people pleaser, it felt really scary and hard. So the first person that I really started putting boundaries in place was my ex-husband when I was starting to leave him. And the first boundary I put in place was I wasn't going to go with him to this family reunion, which he didn't want anyone to know what was going on in our personal life. And I was like, no, I'm actually not going to go to that. And I mean, he couldn't believe it that I would not show up, but it felt so good. It felt liberating to me. And honestly, it was a really great experience for him too, because he got that extra time with our kids, with him and the kids. So that was like the first boundary I can think of. I was like, I'm not going to do that this time because I don't feel good about going. And when I did that, it felt really peaceful. So it gave me that much more, like a little more strength to do it again. And then he understood. He's like, okay, so then from there you move on. You have to do what feels, boundaries are like all about doing what feels good to you, but not from a place of selfishness. Like some people think it's selfish. It's from a place of love and self-respect and respect for the individual, like the other person they're teaching how to treat you. So those are some of the things that I did in the beginning. And I mean, they're small, right? Another thing was, yeah, if you're going to talk to me like that, I'm actually going to hang up the phone. And then I would hang up the phone. Well, guess what? Not very long before he doesn't talk to me like that anymore because he's like, oh, that doesn't work for her anymore. So little things, but it's teaching them how to treat you and teaching you that you're worthy of more. And from doing that, you do find more peace. You do have more happiness. You do have more fulfillment with the people in your life that you actually want to spend that time with, letting go of relationships that don't serve you. That's another boundary. It's like, let it go. It's okay.
Some people look at boundaries as, to use your analogy, the fence around the house. You go through the gate, you go through the door, and you're invited in. Where some people would view it as the electric fence, where if they touch it, they get electrocuted, and there's some form of consequence from trying to test your boundary in a way. And one thing I like to tell people about boundaries, it's you want to protect yourself from yourself, because many times we're people pleasers and we may allow ourselves to be damaged to benefit someone else. Well, they're
Mm-hmm.
talking to me this way. That's just how they are. I'm going to continue to accept it.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas when you mention, Amy, that this person is talking to me in a way that I don't like, I need to let them know. One way is to disconnect the call. Another way is to tell them.
Mm-hmm.
And when you went through your people pleasing phase,
Mm-hmm.
when you're living that life, and now that you have these boundaries which are protective of you, your family, your marriage, your children, everything, how proud are you that you're able to set up your life this way?
Honestly, it's amazing. I'm like really proud of myself. When you say, how proud are you? I'm like, I'm so proud of myself because and I'm still not there because naturally, like you want to, default to what you did for so many years. And so like, oh, like, no, that's not what I want. But when I look back, there were some family members too that just used to treat me poorly. Guess what? I accepted it. When I didn't accept it anymore, there was a period of time where the people, when you're starting to put boundaries in place, and you were kind of alluding to this, they don't like it. And they, you might lose relationships for a little while, or they might kick and scream. They're like, this isn't what we choose. This isn't how this relationship goes. And they do not like it. Well, all of the relationships that mattered to me, that I wasn't being true to myself, like by allowing them to mistreat me, when I put those boundaries in place, some of them did go away for a while and I didn't have those relationships, but it was okay. But all of the ones that truly mattered that I wanted in my life are now back and stronger than they ever were. And that's why I'm like, I'm so proud of myself because we now have much better relationships than we ever did. We're able to go deeper. We're able to connect. And it's like a true connection because I'm not doing it out of feeling like I have to, out of, this like, what's the word I'm looking for? It's like spacing. I'm spacing the word I'm looking for, but where you feel like you just are obligated to be a certain way around these people or to show up a certain way. I'm like, no, I just am me. And they now love me for me. And I love them for them. And we both respect each other in a way that we never did before. So it's really a beautiful thing.
There's a time where I went through that and a part of me started to feel a little guilty because I was surprised who was being impacted by this. I would think, oh no, not Johnny. Johnny and I have been friends for so long that when I set up the boundaries, I saw the change.
Mm-hmm.
And then, as you mentioned, you want to default and say, maybe I'm doing something that isn't appropriate. But then you remember how they treated you last week, last month. And then you have to make a decision. And this is for everyone watching. You have to make a decision. Is your pain less important to you than them being uncomfortable? Or is their discomfort more important than the pain that you feel? And then when I looked at it like that, that's when I said, if I can't love me and show the world that I deserve love, I can't expect it from anyone else. Was there a time in your life, Amy, where you thought, maybe what I'm doing isn't necessarily something that I should do, even though you know it's for the best? Was there any doubt in your mind?
Oh, yes. Along the whole way, there's doubt, right? It's like, I'm like, you're thinking of a time, like, is there a time? I'm like, oh gosh, like leaving a husband. So that was really hard. Walking away, being like, I can't allow myself to be treated like this. That was so hard. And there was all the doubt. I was starting a completely new life, so that was like a big one. But even small ones where I'm interacting with my kids and I say something, I maybe put them in their place or something. They don't want to do their homework and I have to come in. And then I'm like, oh, shoot, should I have not? Like where you kind of climb back up in your shell, like, oh no, maybe I shouldn't have. I was like, no, that is what needed to happen. It's just like, it happens all the time. Even still, it's throughout life, but it's just like trusting that, like you said, this discomfort that this other person's going to feel is okay because I'm respecting myself. And I love myself. And this is what I do deserve. And I'm sure that you probably have examples where when something's happened like that, that person does respect you because you voiced your opinion. You said something and they're like, oh yeah. There's a relationship I'm thinking of right now is with a friend. And in the beginning, we were not friends because I actually didn't like the way she treated me. And so, but we hung around each other all the time because we had a group of friends, and she did a lot of the gossiping and all the kinds of things that I just don't like to really be a part of. And so she had said some things at this lunch, and coming away from that lunch, she texted me individually, oh, don't tell so-and-so and don't tell so-and-so. And I was thinking in my head, look at all these things that she's trying to cover up because what she said, so much easier to have not said it, And I told her, I'm like, I'm not going to go talk to those people, but if you don't want that to be said, you probably shouldn't say it. I mean, so that's what I told her. And she was like, whoa, people hadn't really spoke to her like that before. And she pushed away for a little bit. And then that actually is what created a better relationship for us. Because then later she's like, when you said that, I really had to think about it, look at my own life, look at how I was showing up. And she's like, and yeah, I don't want to be that type of person. And so now we have a better relationship. But she, for a while, was like, oh, I can't believe she said that to me. She was offended. But then later she's like, I respected you so much because you said something. And now we're great friends. Actually, she was on my girls trip this weekend. So.